Well, good. I almost say good morning. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Experts. My name is Hassani, and I'm being joined by A. Walter and Charmaine Jennings. They are a powerhouse couple who provides counseling and coaching and therapy to couples all over this world who are interested in taking their relationship to the next level. They're going to be a part of our discussion tonight. You know what this is, and you know what we do. Ask your question, post it in the chat. Let us know where you're actually coming in from, what city, what state, what country. And before we get started, make sure you take the time to do what? You got to like, you got to share, and you got to subscribe. Let the community know that we are live and ready to go so that they can be a part of this conversation as well. Just a couple quick announcements. February the 11th through the 13th, you know what it is. It is the last chance weekend. On that Valentine's Day weekend, it's going to be something memorable and special. So if you've never been a part of it and you're considering being a part of it, this is the one that you absolutely do not want to miss. If you just sitting back in a cut waiting to say, when am I going to get in? This is the time. This is the season. We just have a few slots left, so make sure you take advantage of it. We would love for you to engage. We do have a couple of comments, no questions. I'm just going to read what Shalise Oliver said. She said, before I found the Couples Academy videos, I was looking for counseling locally, but I didn't feel it. After watching live, speaking to Hassani, and watching and implementing learning, I trust Jeff, the entire team, with my most precious possession, my marriage. Thank you all for what you do. Shalise, we appreciate you for sharing that and for tuning in, because that little testimony should give someone else some hope and encouragement for their relationship as well. Nina says, asked my husband what he wanted our marriage to look like. He said he wanted to have fun, planned an event. He was so not into it. How should I take this? Well, I don't know enough about your situation to answer that because I don't know what the state of your relationship is. I think that a lot of times people do want more than what they currently have, but they've been stuck in a pattern and in a rhythm for so long, and sometimes it's hard to break out of that pattern. So, couples who want intimacy but who haven't had it for a long time, it's weird, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. Couples who want to enhance their communication, who haven't been in that good space for quite some time, when they attempt to do something, it doesn't go quite as planned. Couples who want to start dating again, who haven't done so in a long time, it's just a stale experience, possibly. But let me just say this: the key to your success is repetition. Doing something one time and not experiencing the results that you're looking for is really sabotaging the process. You have to do something again and again and again and again. And what was once weird and awkward and uncomfortable doesn't feel so bad. And now, because we keep doing it again and again, it starts to feel a little bit better. And as we continue to do it again and again and again, now it's feeling good. But it happened through repetition. And so you have to be committed to the process in order to truly experience a change and shift in your relationship. Jennings, what are your thoughts about that?
Absolutely. I was actually going to chime in, and I was curious if it was something that she planned on her own, or if it was something that they planned together. I know oftentimes couples, what will happen is in a situation like this, if one person expresses a something that they would like to see in the marriage, then the other spouse takes it upon themselves to, okay, I'm going to plan this great event, for us to do, and he's going to love it. And it ends up falling flat because the person who was it would actually plan for was not a part of the planning process, where it could actually turn into an opportunity for a collaboration, and it allows the couple to actually learn about each other. So I was curious about that. I don't know if she planned it herself, but it does become a great opportunity for couples to actually build that resilience, as you mentioned, in the process of it, and also work together and learning one another's likes and dislikes.
And
Brilliant
fun,
answer. Yeah.
I define fun very differently in my 20s from my 30s and my 40s. So
Yes.
you definitely want to have that definition to a conversation. What does fun look, feel, and sound like in this cycle that we're in right now for you?
Yeah.
And because it evolves, it changes, and you got to shift and move with the changes.
And I think that's a great point because what fun looks like for one may look different for another. And this is why we always encourage couples to actually write out their own list of dates, right? So, for instance, we take couples through an exercise where they each have to write out a certain number of dates because what I think is fun is different than yours. What I think is romantic is different than yours. What I think is exciting is different than yours. And so we
Mm-hmm.
take turns. I have this week, you have next week. And by going back and forth, we're experiencing something new, unique, and different that wouldn't have been on our list, but we're able to bring something new and unique and different to our partner. So I think what you're saying is spot on. And Nina's saying they've been on multiple dates or they've done it multiple times. Well, repetition with tweaks and adjustments along the way, because doing more of the same will just get you more of the same. So you want to
That's
be able
right.
to have a conversation and assess it. Okay, well, what worked, what didn't work? Okay, we're going to remove what doesn't work. We're going to double down on what does work so it looks differently the next time than it did the previous time. So excellent question. Here's a good question. I want to read this slow. I want you to unpack this. We'll start off with you because I know that you've dealt with couples in crisis and those who've dealt with affairs. Here it is. Sean says, I know how sex affects the betrayed spouse. So we're talking about sex after an affair. Okay. I know how sex affects the betrayed spouse, but how does it affect the unfaithful? At first, we were in sexual overdrive. Then months later, sex started triggering both of us. I'm thinking what he I'm thinking what he's thinking, and he's wondering what I'm thinking. And sexual intimacy is difficult. This started once the work started and the remorse and pain started pouring out. Wow. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime again you're rebuilding trust, it is going to be a process. I heard Jeff say, and I love that it's a great statement that trust is lost in buckets and gain and regained in drops. And so it is going to take a while in order to rebuild that trust. But to answer the initial question, part of the reason why the person that has been unfaithful is having those reservations is because now they are actually on edge about being cheated against or retribution and retaliation. So now you've got the betrayed spouse who is actually dealing with the trauma of what has been happened in dealing with the trust that's been lost, and you've got the unfaithful spouse that's actually waiting for that other shoe and to get that conversation with them about, well, now I've been unfaithful. And so now you have this tug and pull between the two couples, when really what there needs to be is use it as an opportunity for more honest communication, more dialogue, utilizing those moments for really having conversations, not necessarily about what happened. If it's already been revisited and we've decided that we're going to move on, now we have to have conversations about what moving on looks like, about what love looks like, what does trust look like, in rebuilding that bridge between the two couples.
Now, what's interesting, I don't know if that's their situation, but what you're saying is very, very common. That is so true. As a matter of fact, we've had quite a number of couples who have said, man, I fear that she may do what I did. So now I have angst and anxiety. But so that's, I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, that is a reality. And if that is your reality, please listen to what he said because there's a lot of relevance to it. In other situations, it's almost like, everything was great. See, what happens is you go through seasons, right? So to her point, there's a season after an affair where you go into sexual overdrive and you're having sex every day, several times a day, because you may be trying to make up for what was lost. You may be trying to compete with the affair partner. You may be trying to hold on. So if I give him more sex, that'll keep him from having a desire to leave. So sex is being used for a particular purpose, right? It may not be be creating intimacy, but it's being used because we're driven to do things out of fear, right? Then we go into an asexual relationship where don't look at me, don't touch me, I don't want to have anything to do with you, because in that recovery process we're going through emotional ups and downs, and now I can't even look and think about you anymore in that particular way because now I'm now feeling what I didn't feel initially. It's very true that some people don't really feel the impact of the affair till later. It's like a
Hmm.
delayed reaction,
Hmm.
or the type of reaction is different, and it impacts the sex life. And so with all of these seasons, I think it's important to realize that it's very common that couples go through seasons, but we can delay these seasons, we can
Mm-hmm.
shorten these seasons by how we show up in our willingness to do the work. Wow. So
Absolutely. And we do have to get back to when things like that occur, back to in order to really align the mind and the body. So yeah, sex, it might be working in that moment, but we will all hit, you will crash and you'll get stuck at some point, and you will have to go back to refocusing and reestablishing really the friendship
Hmm.
and the intimacy, getting back to the core of your relationship. Because even if sex was off the table, you would still have work to do. And so just making sure that the mind and the body is in alignment before even really going there. And so you definitely just know that that's where the focus needs to be. It's that
Mm.
mental work, getting to know each other again,
Hmm.
rebuilding, and allowing that to be the focus.
Yeah, excellent point. Ralph has a question. I want you guys to take this away. What is the easiest way to have your spouse believe that you've changed when you've messed up really bad and many times throughout the relationship? So we're not talking about one time,
Hmm.
multiple times. So now it diminishes one's ability to believe that things will ever be different. So what's the easiest way to have your spouse believe that you've actually changed?
Well, I'll go to an old saying, and it's a church saying that people would rather see a sermon than hear a sermon. Meaning that
Mm,
you can say that
wow.
you changed until you're blue in the face.
Mm,
You can say it 100, but until your behavior, until your actions line up with what you have professed to change from, then it doesn't matter what you say. Now, also too, you don't get to determine how
Yep.
many times that is. You don't get to determine how many, as far as with your behavior, if that's a month, if that's 6 months, if that's 12 months, because what you're looking for, what that person is looking for, is a change in character. So, not looking to get off of this. A lot of people, they'll express or have this change in behavior for the express purpose of getting out of the doghouse or getting off a person's list, when that's not what the person is looking for. What they're looking for is a change in that person's character, and in that flaw being rectified, being dealt with, and understanding that I need to turn and go a different direction. And if you are really truly and if you're adamant about that change, then it does not matter how long it takes. The only thing that matters is you committing yourself to having behavior that aligns with who you say you are now.
All I could say is boom. There it is. Let's go to another question. I am the betrayer 6 years past. Since then, it's been ups and downs in our relationship of 20 years. We have gone to counseling, not specializing in infidelity. My wife has asked that I work on being the best person for myself, which would help our relationship. And I think that's right. I think at the end of the day, there is relationship counseling, but then there's that individual recovery process that you need to go through as well. I give this example all the time, and maybe it'll relate, because a lot of times when I have betrayed my spouse, I want to restore the relationship. They're not open to it. So knee jerk reaction says, well, let me just start doing the right thing. I'm going to buy flowers. I'm going to buy candy. I'm going to do all these wonderful things. I'm going to win her heart back. But they're not receptive. They don't want it. Why? Because they don't want us. And
Mm,
it makes me think of the TV show back in the day, Family Matters. So you had
Hmm.
Steve Urkel and you
yeah.
had Laura, and Steve Urkel loved him some Laura.
Yes,
Yes,
he
he
did.
did.
Right? He would compliment her. He would buy her flowers and candy and gifts. He would take his coat off and put it over a pond or a puddle of water so she could walk across it. He was just infatuated with this woman, but she did not like him. It didn't matter what he did
That's
Hmm.
true.
because she didn't like him. But then he went through a transformation. If you
Yes, he
remember,
did.
towards the latter part, and he became Stefan.
Oh,
Hmm.
Now,
yes.
when he
I remember.
became Stefan, he didn't have to do all those things that Steve Urkel did because she was in love with him. And
Hmm.
so I say that to say, when you go through a transformation and become the best version of yourself, because when you give good gifts and you do nice things, she's questioning your motive and your intent. But when she can begin to see the character within you, and you just spoke to this, when she could
Hmm.
see the God on the inside of you, when she can see all of the things that she had been praying for and hoping for or thought she had at the beginning of the relationship, that's when she becomes receptive and her heart begins to open up. So do the individual counseling for now. And
Hmm.
guess what? She's watching you. She's got a
Yes.
front row seat to your life. And
Mhm.
when you demonstrate the right things, trust and believe, it'll start to turn that relationship around. Now, Charmaine, do me a favor. I want you to weigh in on this. As a woman, am I lying or am I telling the truth?
Oh no, you're absolutely telling the truth. It is attractive. It is very empowering and just sexy when your man is really building himself up to better himself and not just to win you back, but just because that's what he needs to do. And to watch and witness the transformation is powerful. I definitely have. There's been different seasons even in our relationship, and it's just been powerful to see my husband grow and for him to push himself and apart from me. So not just doing it because I want to impress. He wants to impress his wife, or he's doing it because it's going to benefit him in the bedroom, or it's going to no, he's doing it because he needs to better himself. And through that is being a priest of our home, that's pushing me to even do my individual work so that when we come together collectively, we'll both be
Mm.
strong.
Guys, you're watching Ask the Experts. We're answering your questions. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back. But in the meantime, put your questions in the chat so that we can address them. We'll be right back.
Couples Academy is committed to serving couples around the world by reaching beyond cultural lines and language barriers. We are proud to announce that we now serve the Spanish-speaking community. So whether you're here in the United States or abroad, Couples Academy has a place for you.
Couples Academy se compromete a servir parejas de todo el mundo, superando las fronteras culturales y las barreras del idioma. Ahora, estamos orgullosos de anunciar que servimos a la comunidad de habla hispana. Entonces, ya sea que estés aquí en los Estados Unidos o en el extranjero, Couples Academy está aquí para servirle.
Well, welcome back, guys. Give me 1 second. See, this is what happens when you don't have your producer with you and you're doing it all by yourself. You got black screens, but you're watching Ask the Experts. Once again, this is my name is Hassani Pettiford, and we have two powerhouse individuals who are a power couple, A. Walter and Charmaine Jennings, joining the conversation. We have one more question. It just seems like many people have got their questions answered. So we're going to go to this last one. And if there's no others, we're going to close out early. Shalise says, my struggle is internal conversations that lead to doubt and insecurity. It looks and feels like he's doing the right thing, but I don't trust it. I need to fix me and I don't know how. Yeah, let's take some time with this because internal conversations that fuel doubt and insecurity could be the very thing that's holding you back. So there are many situations where a spouse who was the offender is doing the right thing. They're showing up the right way. They're dotting every I. They're crossing every T. They're consistent, but there's something within you that you just haven't resolved and you're not working on, because what happens is when a spouse has been hurt, there's a overwhelming preoccupation to focus on how the other spouse is showing up, not realizing that there's internal work that you have to do yourself. And guess what? Your spouse can't do your work for you, and you can't do the work for your spouse. There's only certain things you can do for yourself. And I'm going to just be honest. because this is what we do on this show. A lot of betrayed spouses are not willing to do the work because
Mm,
at the end of the day, they say it's not fair. I shouldn't have to do this. I didn't put us in this situation. Why do I have to be the one reading? Why do I have to be the one praying? Why do I have to be the one meditating and working on my this and working on my that? Because it's going to take only you to do what only you can do. And at the end of the day, if your spouse transformed into Jesus Christ himself, if you're still broken and you still have a hardened heart and walls up, nothing he does will ever be good enough. You
that's
understand?
right.
So there is work that you have to do on the inside of you. You two want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, self talk is a powerful thing. And so just like, our tongue, we can speak life, we can also speak death. And we want to make sure that even those internal conversations we're having, a lot of times it goes back to what we're downloading into our spirit. Like, what are we watching on TV? I went through a season where, my husband would come home and I'm watching, Snapped, I'm watching Lifetime movie marathons, and I had to stop that. Like, I could not be a happily married woman watching some of these shows. And because it was what I was downloading and putting into my spirit. So I really encourage you to really, you have to replace those thoughts. It's not just enough to say, oh, I won't think it. No, we have to start pouring into the thoughts that you want to have. I'm trusting, and I'm learning to trust. Speak to those things that you're seeing daily. So really replacing those thoughts by feeding in to the evidence of what you're seeing. I see him trying. I see him working hard. I know that I am worthy to be loved. I know that I can reach, I can trust again. So really replacing that negative self-talk and replacing it with the prophetic and the positive things that that you're seeing in the evidence that's being produced.
Yeah, and I wanted to chime in really quickly. We were talking about, because we saw the question as it came up, and I want to commend Shalise for recognizing that in this particular situation, that it's an individual challenge for her. She's not trying to put it off on her spouse. She's recognizing that there is something inside of her that is not allowing her to register and receive the changes that she's seeing. And just like Charmaine is saying, what we have to do is have a renewed mind. And part of renewing your mind is being critical and analyzing, what are you putting into your mind? What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you reading? Who are you listening to?
Yes.
So being able to really scrutinize all of the input that's coming in, especially if they're avenues that were influencing you before some of these things happen, you may have to do some shifting and some changing of some of those influences in order to really be able to recognize and receive some of the changes that are taking place.
Wow, powerful answer. Sean says, wow, agreed. Remove the negative thought with positive. That's so true. In essence, what they're talking about is guarding your gates. You've got an eye gate, you've got an ear gate, you've got a mouth gate, and you got to be careful what you allow in, because
Yes.
whatever you allow in will begin to grow within you. And so I remember, like, it just makes me think of my dad when he was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. He shut everything down. He stopped watching the news. He stopped watching television and videos. Matter of fact, if somebody called and they were too sad, he was like, I can't talk to you right now.
That's right.
I need positive energy. I need something that's going to reinforce the life that I want to have, not the life that I do have. And because he shut everything down and created an environment that was conducive for his health and healing, is the very reason why he's here today. Now, if that could work for your physical body, that could work for your spirit, that could work for your relationship, every area of your life. So powerful answer. Listen, Nina has a question. She says, I have a book of my spouse. I write down everything. Is there anything that I should leave out? So we talk about, you should get a journal, right? And you should name the journal, say, the Book of Danielle. That's my wife's name. She should name her journal the Book of Hassani. And one of the principles we teach is that you must become a student of your spouse. In essence, you want to get your PhD in your partner. So is there anything that you should leave out of the book? I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're assessing who they are, if you're observing them, if you're having conversations and you're asking questions, you want to write it in that book. You even want to observe when they're pissed, when they're mad, when they're upset. Well, what made them that way? Write that down. Like, you want to know who they are in their good, in their bad, every facet of their life, so that you know how to effectively operate and function in that relationship. When you buy something, it comes with a manual. If you read the manual, you know how to use it. Your spouse didn't come with one. So you're creating one by becoming a student of your spouse. Okay.
Yeah, I would say, I'm sorry, I was going to say absolutely, to answer the question, absolutely, you shouldn't leave anything out. By doing that, what you do is you actually rob yourself and you rob your spouse of really capitalizing and chronicalizing and documenting all of the things that make them. Oftentimes in marriages and even in relationships, we try to minimize people to who we want them to be. And again, with all the great qualities, and there's nothing wrong with it, but there are some challenges and some things that about us that we need to be honest about. And how can we really challenge and change ourselves when it comes to the things that we're up against if we're not willing to be honest about it? And it's interesting that this question came in, because one of the things that we've been talking about a lot is this whole idea of us being living epistles. So we are all living books. So with this book, it's not just for you. It's not only for your partner, but again, you are chronicalizing an individual, a life that is being lived that will hopefully go on to inspire those who come behind you.
That's right.
So absolutely, you want to make sure to document
your
that.
children are watching.
That's
they
right.
have a front row seat and witness to your relationship, and
you
are pouring into their ideas and understanding of what the real journey and work of being married is. I will say, definitely document everything in this book, but safeguard it.
Absolutely,
okay?
absolutely.
Safeguard it. Women especially, we don't play about our man, so I'm not going to be advertising all of my man's business. So safeguard it, keep it on the lock and key, so nobody can find it.
Everything isn't for everybody.
That's
and
right.
it isn't for every season. So you have to use discernment. You have to use discernment. You have to be wise. And as Charmaine mentioned, you have to safeguard that. Because that's an important part, especially with our children, in making sure that we're not revealing too much to them too soon. There are some important things, in family secrets we've seen, or, will totally destroy your family. There does come a place where we do have to have some courageous conversations. But again, it's making sure that we're using discernment and wisdom on when we have those type of discussions.
So what do you think, folks? Should we keep them around? What do you think about these two here? Should we allow them to come back on the show? Did you get something? Did you get some wisdom from them tonight? This was powerful. This was Ask the Experts. It goes by so quickly. The half hour is over, and I see those other questions that are here. I promise you we will answer them on tomorrow night. So stay tuned. Make sure you log in at 9:00 Eastern Standard Time for another episode. But till then, we love you guys. See you in the morning for the Couples Academy Show. Take care.